Yo, what is good, YouTube? What is good, PlayStation Nation? It is your boy Persona of Gaming with Persona, host of When Persona Speaks, host of When Persona Interviews, and one half of the host of What's Up PlayStation podcast every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And listen, man, shout out to the early birds in the chat. Big shout out to everybody that is here right now. Rallo God, Bug Rogers, Jay Bari, my bro, Brigadier Williams, Omar, Batter A, ISA. Yo, what's good, man? How y'all feeling today, man? How is everything? It's Sunday. It's Sunday. And let me get a round of, first off, before we doing it, round of applause to the people in the chat. I said round of applause to the people in the chat. Yo, man, how y'all feeling today, man? What's good? Yo, Quamvo Plus Ultra, what's good, man? How y'all feeling today, man? How is everything? Let me share out this stream real quick. Let me share the stream out real quick, guys. Hold on. I was looking through the articles and things like that. We live. Stop. By if you can. Stop by if you can. Yo, man. So how y'all feeling today, man? How is everything? How is everybody feeling today? I need to know how y'all feeling today, man. It's Sunday. And ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 days. I repeat, we are 4 days away from the PlayStation 5 launch. Oh my God. I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 days away from the PlayStation 5 launch. Oh my God. Listen, man, I'm ready, guys. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the PS5. I mean, I don't think y'all understand how ready I am for this console. I honestly cannot wait to get my hands on this console. You feel me? It's gonna be a movie, as Barry would say. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. But yo, man, listen. Welcome to part 2 of the Generation in Review series here on my channel. For those that are new and wondering what this is, so the Generation in Review is a 3-part series that I'm doing on my channel, leading into the launch of the PlayStation 5. Because really, guys, we literally are 4 days away. We really are 4 days away from the PlayStation 5 launch. Like, we're 4 days away from a new generation. You get what I'm saying? Yo, Batter, what's good, man? We are 4 days away, so it's like, yo, man, I really wanted to do this series, but I most definitely wanted to do this series and made sure that it led up to the launch of the PlayStation 5. You feel me? So part 1 of the series was my top 25 games of the generation. This was my personal top 5. This wasn't like a community thing, you know. This was my top 5 games of the generation. So that was part 1, right? So now we are at part 2, and part 2 of this series is going to be the greatest and most controversial gaming moments of this generation. Now, I put it as controversial just because we're going to talk about a lot of controversial moments, and some of these controversial moments are, they're going to be PlayStation centered, they're going to be Xbox centered. It's going to be a lot, a lot of different games, like with some controversial moments, but we're definitely going to talk about the good times as well when it comes to some of the gaming news and gaming moments that we have gotten this generation, right? So this is what part 2 of the series is going to be. And the reason why I wanted to highlight some of the controversial moments as well within this episode is because, us within the gaming community, oftentimes the controversial moments are the things that kind of get highlighted the most, right? The good times were, obviously the good times is what's always going to be most important, but the controversial moments is always what people tend to, at least for me and especially what I've seen this generation, I think a lot of the controversial moments most definitely that have been highlighted this generation are definitely going to be ones that, when I speak on them, I'm going to speak on why they really aren't controversial moments and kind of were just blown out of proportion, right? And my hope at the end of this episode is that when we go into a new generation, because, guys, we are moving into a new generation. And as we see, especially for those that are on social media or for those that listen to other podcasts on different channels and things of that nature, we do see that, when it comes to the next generation, we already see I don't want to call them controversial moments, but we're already seeing certain things being blown out of proportion, right? And so my hope within this video and within this series, especially with this episode part 2, I want to talk about these controversial moments, but I also want to talk about and give my opinion why I feel like going into next generation, we shouldn't really be up in arms and crying and the fake outrage that just continuously happens and things like that. That's why I wanted to bring up the controversial moments, because it's hilarious, some of these controversial moments or some of the craziest moments within this generation, right? Yo, Seto, what's good, man? Cosmo, what's up? So it's a lot that we definitely gonna be talking about, and then obviously the good moments as well we are going to be talking about as well. Don't worry, I sprinkled in some good news in here as well. But yeah, guys, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and we about to get into it. So when I think back to this generation, right, this generation really has seen its ups and downs within gaming, right? There's been some really high points, there's been some really low points, and realistically there's been some middle of the road points as well. But there really has been some moments within the gaming industry, gaming community, games media, and all of the like, where the things that us as gamers tend to react to, and the things that we are either angry, happy, sad about, and things like that, it varies, right? But there's one thing that is for sure: there are certain moments within this generation that are definitive, either good or bad. They are definitive moments of this generation, right? So first thing we're gonna start off with is one that happened very, very, very early within the generation, guys. I'm talking, this was like the first 4 months of the generation, right? So one of the few things about the beginning of this generation that really turned out not to be true or not to be the norm, right? And this is something that throughout this generation and really going into the next generation with PS5 and Series X, it's now a norm, right? We can see it going into next generation that this is something that's going to be the norm. But when it came to the Xbox and the PlayStation this generation, this right here wasn't the norm. And what I'm talking about is 60 frames per second, right? So one of the few things that at the early start of this generation, I mean, look, the PlayStation 4 had came out 2013 November, right? And, this was these talks about, games being 60 frames, games being played better, and then higher frames and all this other stuff, right? And PlayStation, they kind of put their foot in their mouth here, because I remember this news very vividly when PlayStation themselves did put this news out on their website about Watch Dogs was going to be 1080p 60 frames. And oh my God, this game did not deliver that in any capacity. And everyone was confident because PlayStation put it out. PlayStation had put it out, and a lot of people were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be 60 frames, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and it turned out not to be true. And man, was there egg on everybody's face at that time. Again, this was very, very, very early. This was 2014, right? This is very early in the generation. And listen, Watch Dogs, when we saw Watch Dogs, right? Watch Dogs was great. Watch Dogs looked great, right? Nonetheless, like when we were seeing previews of it and things like that, right? The understanding was that Watch Dogs was going to be 60 frames per second, 1080p 60. PlayStation's website had it. They definitely did. This wasn't just like a rumor or PlayStation's website did have that, and it turned out not to be the case. And I know a lot of people was like coming at PlayStation because of this. Yeah, they definitely catfished us on that one. With the Watch Dogs, that was definitely some PC footage or whatever that was. They definitely catfished us because Watch Dogs on the PlayStation 4 was not good looking. It wasn't the best looking game, right? And when you're going into a new generation, you expect to see games that look much better than what you've been playing on the previous gen, right? That's one of the that's one of the big positives about going into a next, at least in my opinion, right? Going into a next generation, you want games to look better, play better, things of that nature. Yo, Envy, what's good, man? And Watch Dogs, and as much as I shit on Watch Dogs, it's an okay game, right? I didn't beat it, right? Because I really couldn't bring myself to beat this game because this game just wasn't enough for me, right? And when it came to this game, the fact that it wasn't 60 frames per second, a lot of people was looking at PlayStation as liars, right? Oh, PlayStation lied, and when in reality it was a little bit of misinformation, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say PlayStation might have jumped the gun here, because PlayStation definitely did jump the gun here, right? And it definitely. Thankfully, this mishap didn't mess up PlayStation's momentum, right? But this was a huge highlight within the community, especially within the console war community, and especially within the debating console war community, things like that. Podcasts at the time, a lot of people was looking at PlayStation as, oh, and when I say a lot of people, I'm not talking PlayStation fans. A lot of just people like Xbox guys and just a little bit of PlayStation fans as well. They were looking at this as, oh, well, if PlayStation is lying about this, does that mean that 60 frames per second not going to be the standard, right? And the fact that 60 frames per second wasn't the standard this generation was something that I know quite a few people were very disappointed about, and this was kind of I want to say this was kind of the start of that. You get what I mean? Like this right here, at least in my opinion and how I remember it, this kind of was like the start of the doubt that 60 frames per second would be the standard. Because, at that time, at the beginning of the generation, you had PC gamers that were, PCs were starting to really become fully realized as an actual place that you can really enjoy games. And they were moving ahead of consoles in terms of power, in terms of capabilities and things of that nature. So, when you're looking at PC and you're seeing that PC is doing 60 frames, 120 frames, and all these different things or whatever, and then you're looking at the PlayStation 4 and Xbox and seeing that, that 60 frames can't be a standard there. I know for some people that was something that they were looking at and thinking, damn, like this is not great. And it's funny enough, even though 60 frames was not the standard, PlayStation was and is still the best-selling console of this generation. 100 plus million consoles sold and things of that nature. So then you have to really look at it and ask yourself, was 60 frames per second not being the standard this generation didn't hurt PlayStation at all? Really? You get what I'm saying? But when I think back to this time, the 1080p 60 frames per second issue with Watch Dogs was definitely, in my opinion, how I remember, was the start of the, oh my God, this is ridiculous, no 60 frames talk, right? So, Watch Dogs is definitely in their most controversial moments with this, right? So the next thing, right? The next thing, I told y'all this is going to be Xbox and PlayStation. Like, the controversial moments is definitely going to be just of this entire generation, right? So one of the few here is, which one is it? Oh, yeah, this one right here, right? Phil Spencer says single-player games like Horizon Zero Dawn don't have the same impact as before. Listen, guys. Yo, listen, and listen well, right? One of the few things from this generation, right? One of the few things from this gen. Yo, Andre 6K, what's good, man? Buck Rogers, what's good, man? Shout out to y'all, man. One of the things that has bugged me out this generation, and I stand by this wholeheartedly, and even going into next gen, this man is still kind of doing this stuff, right? Phil Spencer has said he's done a lot of interviews this generation, a lot. And a couple of things that he said are going to be highlighted here, like in a couple of different articles, right? One of the few ones that stands out to me, right? One of the few ones that stood out to me, like on a crazy level, is when he was talking about this, when he did an interview and he spoke on how, single player games he named, and mind you, at the time of this interview, Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the biggest best-selling games out for PlayStation at that time, right? And then he also mentioned like Zelda, and Breath of the Wild was Breath of the Wild was hitting like 10 million. You get what I'm saying? And his quote he says right here, like, his quote, the audience for those big story-driven games, I won't say isn't as large, but they're not as consistent. You'll have things like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Horizon Zero Dawn that'll come out and they'll do really well, but they don't have the same impact that they used to have because the big service-based games are capturing such a large amount of the audience. Sony's first-party studios do a lot of these games, and they're good at them, but outside of that, it's difficult. They've become more rare. It's a difficult business decision for those teams. You're fighting into more headwind. We've got to understand that if we enjoy those games, the business opportunity has to be there for them. I love story-based games. I just finished Thimbleweed Park. Inside was probably my game of the year last year. As an industry, I want to make sure both narrative-driven single-player games and service-based games have the opportunity to succeed. I think that's critical for us. Now, see, this is my issue, man. This is my issue, right? And I remember when these articles first came out, when he did this interview, right? I'm sitting there like, what? What the hell are you talking about, right? Because PlayStation, this is the crazy part, right? PlayStation at the time was dominating when it came to just game sales, period. We're talking single player, third party games and everything. And even now to this day, they still dominate in those sales, right? What threw me off with what he said here was the fact that when he was mentioning single player games not having an impact, right? He goes to mention two of the highest selling games of that year. Two of the most popular games of that year. Zelda Breath of the Wild was a console selling game for the Switch. Horizon Zero Dawn was the benchmark to show why you need to own a PlayStation 4 Pro, because if you go back and remember, when PlayStation was showing off the PS4 Pro, and we were getting these mid-gen refresh and things like that. When PlayStation was showing off the PS4 Pro, they showed Horizon Zero Dawn as the benchmark for why you need to own a PlayStation 4 Pro, right? And that's just the look of it, right? Then you get into the game and the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, and you see that, the introduction of the new Decima engine, right, that Guerrilla had created for this game, and obviously others like Death Stranding and things of that nature. The introduction of the Decima engine, right, and new ways of how games were being made using the Decima engine and showing off the world and how the world was created and things like that. Then we get into battles with the Thunderjaw and all these other monsters within the world. Then we look at the story and things like that. Horizon Zero Dawn is an amazing, amazing game, and the game looks phenomenal. You understand? The game looks phenomenal, right? So to look at that, to look at Horizon Zero Dawn, then to look at Zelda Breath of the Wild, even though Zelda Breath of the Wild, I'm really not feeling that. I wasn't really feeling that game when I picked it up at launch, and I'm a big Zelda fan, but that game, I don't know. And I'll give it another try just to kind of say, I really sat down and gave it another try, but I really don't like this Zelda Breath of the Wild, right? But I understand and acknowledge that this game is an extremely popular game. It sells consoles. It pushes units. It is a beloved game. And I think right now, Nintendo has sold maybe 15 million or so. Here's something else, Persona. While Phil Spencer made this comment, Xbox gamers were saying Rise Son of Rome single-player game is the best game on the generation, literally during that stance. Exactly. This is what I'm saying, though, man. The gameplay, right? The gameplay aspect of Horizon and Zelda Breath of the Wild and the story aspect and things like that still held up even to this day. Some of the best-selling games of this generation are single-player games. Obviously, you've got your CODs and things of that nature. And when he mentioned service-based games, right, and this is one thing that I think, when you really look back and reread some of these interviews that Phil Spencer has done with some of these publications, you really, and you look at where they're at now, right? You really see that the writing was on, like he was inadvertently letting his fan base know this is the route that Xbox is going. Service-based games, service-based products and things like that. I mean, we've got Game Pass, we've got, Phil Spencer had another interview this, like maybe earlier this year or whatever, when he was talking about how, he wanted to bring more games as a service, things of that nature. When you look at, a lot of what Phil's, and we're going to touch on some of this stuff through the show, but when you look at some of the stuff that Phil Spencer has said through some of these interviews, the writing was on the wall with the route that Xbox was going to be taking when it comes to how they distribute games and send games off. Yo, Chuck, what's good, bro? The writing's on the wall. Right? And when he was talking about single player games, I mean, Spider-Man, Days Gone, Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon Souls. How many people can wait? I mean, Demon Souls has multiplayer, but in terms of like in terms of quote unquote service-based games, right? Because I really think those two things are different, right? Multiplayer, so with multiplayer, so if Call of Duty had just the story and the multiplayer like it used to have in the day, I don't look like back in the day. I don't look at that as a service-based game because you get your map packs and things like that, but it's the multiplayer, it's the single player, whatever. These service-based games, I'm thinking like Destiny, I'm thinking like Fortnite and all that stuff, right? And I think during this interview, I think Phil Spencer was looking, because you can't tell me service-based games is what everybody wants. And that's what's best, or that's what the gamer wants. That's not what the gamer wants. That's what you think that's what you think you should put out because it's going to make more money. Like at the end of the day, with all of these companies, I'm talking Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. Their idea is they want to make money. They are a company, right? As much as I'm a fan of PlayStation, I also understand that PlayStation is a business and they're a company in the business of making money, right? In order to continue to provide us games, to provide us nice next-gen consoles and things like that, us as consumers have to be willing to put in the monetary value in order to sustain the greatness that is PlayStation, right? So I never looked at PlayStation as, oh, this is something that, I never really looked at any of these companies as, this is something that, I should get for free, right? I never looked at it like that. But I think when it comes to what Phil Spencer's saying here, I feel like he was saying, oh, well, we want you to keep spending money on games. We want to just put out one game, put out a couple of expansions or things like that, and we just want you to keep spending money on the games, right? Because that's how they making more money. If they putting out a single player only game, like what PlayStation's doing, you get your 60 or your 70 or whatever, and that's it. Microsoft doesn't want that, and it's clear here. They've never wanted that. They've wanted to build this service model for a long time, which is why we got the introduction of Game Pass and all these other things, right? Sell you something that's half finished at a subsidized price and build upon it, and you continuously pay, right? So you think it's a deal at first because, you only spent $10 to $15 to gain access to the game. But then you get into the game, and then you got the expansion, that's $20. Then another expansion, that's 20, 15, 10. You buying cosmetics and all this other stuff, 5. That $10 or $15 that you spent to gain access to the game now turns into $60, $70, $80, $100. You get what I'm saying? So when it comes to Phil Spencer and what Phil Spencer was saying here in terms of single-player games, so I personally, I'm a big advocate of single player games. And listen, I love multiplayer. I love my multiplayer games. But single player games has always been where my heart is. Like, single player JRPGs, shooters. Like that's how my list goes, right? I love my shooters though. Don't get it twisted. I'm a beast in these first person shooters and third person shooters, really. Y'all seen the tapes. I ain't gotta lie. Y'all seen the streams. I ain't gotta lie to y'all. I'm a beast in these multiplayer games. But so this was definitely a controversial moment. It's something that I couldn't believe. Like, I'm like, yo, man, like, what are you talking about here, man? Right. Then let's do a good one, like a good person one, right? So I think 2016. So I think one of the greatest moments of this generation, right? And I think a lot of y'all can agree with me. Hold on, let me get it. All right, so one of the greatest moments of this generation, right? For me personally, it's it's PlayStation E3 2016, right? This was, I remember when we were watching this E3. It was me, Bar, it was a ton of us doing like live reactions, right? And when I first seen this E3, right, I was like, this shit was elegant. This shit was decadent. You feel me? This was the best E3 in my lifetime. This was the best E3 from PlayStation that I have ever seen. This was top notch. The reason why is because, look, you got my boy Bear McCreary. Shout out to my boy, right? So the show hasn't really started yet, right? And, you got this entire orchestra. You got my boy Bear McCreary here, right? And you're like, what is going on? Like, there's an orchestra. You got this old school theater-esque type of setting. You got this nice red velvet cape, which, again, red is my favorite color, by the way. So I was, like, automatically in love. Like, oh, man, like, what are you doing here, PlayStation, right? And he starts playing the orchestra. He starts playing the music. You see everyone's hype. Everyone's hype, right? The music's playing. And like, the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, huh? What is this? What is going on here? Elegance, you understand? Elegance and grace. So I was like super hyped seeing this, right? And then, let's skip ahead just a little bit. Right? So then, and we're gonna play it in a second. But when they were still playing the orchestra, and it was a live orchestra, right? And then the curtains open up, right? And then they start showing off the games. So everyone is hyped. Everyone's like, what game is this? What's going on here, right?
That dumb hammer doesn't scare me. Boom! Oh no!
Boy.
Stop.
Boy.
Shout out to my boy, Corey Barlog.
Your mother's knife. It belongs to you now.
What for?
A test. She taught you to hunt, yes?
Yes, sir.
Then show me what you know.
I am hungry.
I am hungry.
Greatest moment, man. And one of the greatest games of this generation. Listen, this game right here, this just had me so hyped. This had me so hyped. I could not wait. Like, I was just like in awe from this, right? And watching this E3, because this E3 had some bangers, right? So we had God of War, right? Gameplay was fire, right? And then, I believe, I might be mistaken, I believe this was Sean Layden's first E3. Like first time as like the head of SIE. I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat correct me. Because I remember he came out on stage. Shout out to Ben McCreary. I miss Sean Layden, man. Sean Layden was the shit. I met him like 2 or 3 times at PSX, man. He's a really great guy.
Thanks to everybody. Before we go any further, though, I think it's important that we take a moment to address the heartbreaking tragedies of Orlando this past weekend.
Yeah, this was, and then I think we had, then they showed Days Gone at this E3, right? What else did they show? Oh, they showed, I remember they showed Horizon Zero Dawn. Listen, this was, I have to find the live reaction because I was going crazy during this E3 live reactions. I'm like, yo, all these games looked crazy, bro, crazy, right? Horizon Zero Dawn, they showed this off, right? What else did they show? Detroit, yo, this was the greatest E3. Detroit Become Human, right? Which I still got to play, by the way. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Right? They showed off Resident Evil 7. Or was this RE2 remake? Which one was this? Oh, no, this was Resident Evil Biohazard. Yeah, RE7 Biohazard. Right? The introduction of VR. Right? Introduction of VR. Right? And then, what game is this? Yo, this was the greatest E3. Final Fantasy 15, right? This was when they showed this game off. And this game, even though like now we know this game was trash, at least in my opinion, they brought it at this E3, man. They really did bring it at this E3. This E3 was crazy, right? Then that was Call of Duty, Lego, Death Stranding, right? Even though, Death Stranding is trash. Now we know it's trash. Death Stranding was definitely, like, at the time, that was some hype. Then, bro, they ended the show. Listen, they ended the show with, with like one of the most hype games of this generation, for me at least, Spider-Man. Marvel, right? We find it because we had only seen the suit. So at that time, we knew that Spider-Man was coming, but we had only saw the suit. They finally had showed us a little bit of gameplay, right? And I was hyped. I was extremely hyped. This was definitely like a great moment of this generation. This was definitely one of the greatest moments of the gen. This E3 right here. Like, this E3 was just, it was just too good. It was just way too good. Showed off Days Gone gameplay, which, a lot of people don't like Days Gone. I love this game so much, man. I really do love this game. So yeah, that was that. This E3 right here was definitely one of the best, one of the greatest moments of this generation. Like, PlayStation, they knocked it out of the park, man. Like, they pulled out all the stops. They really did pull out all of the stops, honestly. But naysayers, Persona, were saying Spider-Man would be like Marvel Alliance, not so open world game. They were proven wrong. Yo, Seto, that's a fact though. People thought Spider-Man wasn't going to be. Yo, listen, Insomniac is one of the they up there, man. We're gonna talk about them too in one of the moments. But let's talk about a controversial moment, because we still on the topic of Spider-Man, right? We gotta talk about one of the most controversial moments of this generation. We have to talk about one of the most controversial moments this gen. This is probably, if I had to really think about it, this right here, Puddlegate, this was probably the pinnacle of controversial moments this generation, right? Puddlegate with Spider-Man on PS4. Listen, guys and girls, listen, hear me out here. I, to this day, I relish I relish this time in gaming because it was so disappointing, right? This time in gaming was just so disappointing for me, right? And, one thing I'll say, as much as we make jokes, Xbox guys make jokes, PlayStation guys we all joke around, right? And we all make jokes about the other console and things of that nature, right? But this right here, this was such a sad time, right? And the reason why is because the community, what people were angry about. Because, like, listen, even by the way, this turned out not to be true. It was a different time of day if you played Spider-Man or you got through Spider-Man, the puddles were aplenty in that game. Okay, the puddles were most definitely aplenty, right? But at the time, we hadn't gotten the game yet. It was close to launch too, because this was in August, and the game was coming out in September 4th or 8th or whenever, right? So we were literally like a week or two away from the launch of this game, and there was this outcry from concerned trolls and this outcry from people because shout out to Press Start Kofi, the Press Start podcast, those some good dudes over there, man. Real talk. But Kofi had made mention of this, and that's what kind of amplified it, because he had the game early and he realized, like, I'm at this scene and I can confirm that this is not here, blah blah blah. So a lot of people ran with that, and a lot of people were really, really angry at the fact that Spider-Man didn't have puddles, or they were claiming it was a downgrade and all this other shit, right? And this got amplified so bad that Insomniac themselves, listen, it's big, pause, when the developers are in fanboy tweets. Things are crazy when developers are in fanboy tweets, letting people know. You had the community manager, shout out to James Stevenson. You had Brian Inthar. You had Insomniac's actual Twitter in fanboy tweets, trying to explain to people that, look, this is not accurate. There is no downgrade. There are plenty of puddles in the game. Wait till you get the game yourself. There is no downgrade. They said themselves, this was a different time of day. It was an artistic change, right? No one wanted to hear that. It morphed into Puddlegate. It morphed into this crazy beast of controversy, right? Where everyone was pissed off at the fact that Spider-Man didn't have puddles in a scene. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, are you people going to buy the game? Are you playing it? Are you going to buy people? I saw, and obviously I know a lot of these were trolls, because like this game still sold phenomenally. And the game is still one of the best selling games of this generation, right? But at the time, you had people saying, oh, I'm canceling my pre-order and all this other bullshit. And I'm like, hey, man, listen, if you're going to cancel your pre-order of a game because of some puddles missing in a scene, you don't need to be gaming. Just straight up. Something's wrong with you. Something's very wrong with you. Right? So like I just like this here just wasn't. This was a controversial moment, but this was also a very depressing moment in gaming community. Even with the console war stuff, I was just like, yo, really? This is like, really? This is what we're angry. This is what people are angry about. Really? Like I couldn't believe it. Like, honestly, I wholeheartedly couldn't believe that this was that big of a controversy. Right? So, Puddlegate definitely has to go down within that list, right? Right? So, I think another one that's really controversial Another one that's really, really controversial for me personally. I told y'all Phil Spencer gonna get mentioned in here a lot. We gonna talk about the controversial ones too. Yo, controversial this gen. Now listen, guys, listen, and listen well. At the beginning of this generation, right? At the beginning, I'm talking like 2013, 2014, and 2015. Yeah, and I might even say 2016, but let's just say up to 2015, right? Exclusives, they were the end all be all for all sides, right? Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. Exclusives were the end all be all. At the beginning of the generation, people, especially on the Xbox side, when PlayStation didn't have a whole lot, right? Quote unquote, didn't have a whole lot, even though they did. Remember PlayStation was putting out a lot of indies. They also was still putting out a lot of third party AAA games and things of that nature, exclusive first party games and like third party deals and all that stuff. But at that time, Xbox was also still putting out a sizable number of games, right? They were still putting out exclusives, right? And we're doing third party deals and stuff like that. And I remember when Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a year-long exclusive to Xbox. It was a timed exclusive. Because if you guys remember, exclusives and the word exclusive and what an exclusive was, that's when the definition started to shift. When we got into this generation and we got like a year and a half or so into this gen, what an exclusive was started to shift, right? So when Shadow of the Tomb Raider... it was Rise of the Tomb Raider. Sorry, not Shadow. Rise. Was it Rise or Shadow? Rise, Shadow. What was the other one? I forget what the name of the second Tomb Raider was. Whatever. The second Tomb Raider that came out and was timed exclusive to the Xbox, it was exclusive for an entire year. People thought that meant that it was a full exclusive, when in reality, it was just a timed exclusive. But what the definition of what the definition of an exclusive was began to shift, right? An exclusive is something that cannot be played. Like, listen, guys, I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what anybody on social media says to you. An exclusive is something that cannot be played anywhere else. That's what an exclusive is. It's exclusive. You have to have a PlayStation system, right? You have to have a PlayStation system to play Spider-Man. That's an exclusive. Like, and people will say, oh, well, because I know what some of y'all are thinking. Oh, well, does that mean that Miles Morales is not exclusive? Yes, it is an exclusive because you need to have a PlayStation platform to play the game. A PlayStation console, albeit PS4 or PS5. It's still a PlayStation console. You need a PlayStation to play their exclusives. That's an exclusive. Yo, Corey, what's good, bro? So the definition of exclusive started to shift, right? Then 2017 rolls around, and we see the introduction of Game Pass. And then we start seeing this shift from Microsoft where, they want to put certain games are starting to go to PC. Right. And if you was in the console war space and, debating and all that stuff back in like 2015, 2016, that Xbox fanboys and Xbox fans, they were wholeheartedly down with exclusives. Exclusive. Not this PC on PC. We're talking true to form exclusives. They shifted their tone when Uncle Phil shifted his tone. The Xbox fans shifted their tone too. So one of the things that's like most controversial is, when Phil Spencer, he was saying like, he wants to bring original Xbox games and Game Pass subscriptions to PC, meaning first party games to PC. He wanted to bring all first party Xbox games to PC. This was an extremely controversial moment because it signified that it signified that Microsoft were not going to be they weren't going to be producing next gen exclusives. Or current gen, they weren't going to be producing true to form exclusives. Yo, A Das, what's good? And man, was that a time. Oh man, was that a time. What a time. What a time. What a time to be alive, right? PSX 2016. 2016. Let's talk about a good time. Can we talk about a good time, guys? So I think everybody here can agree. And when I say everybody, I think everybody. All of you can agree, right? I hope you all can agree with this one here, right? One of the greatest moments of this gen, like great moment this gen, was the reveal of The Last of Us 2. And this was like, yo, PSX 2016, right? I remember this so vividly. Me and Bari were doing our live reaction to the PlayStation Experience 2016 conference. And that conference was a banger. Like, yo, that conference was crazy. This gen, crazy. That was it's crazy because 2016 really was a strong, like, yo, so this is how it go. We had E3 2016 with PlayStation, which was their greatest show. Then in December we had PlayStation Experience 2016, which was also their greatest show ever as well. They showed because that's where they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's where they announced Last of Us 2. That's where they announced Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. There was a ton of greatness. A ton of greatness at that conference. Matter of fact, let me find the entire conference. PlayStation 2016 conference. I walk through the valley and stealing. I forgot the word. I forgot the words. But yo, this show. This was the PSX. This was the PSX that I didn't go to too, and I kicked myself for not going. Right. This was such a great show.
1994, the first PlayStation was sold in Japan.
Shouts for boy Sean Layden. Yo, Sean Layden, if you watching this, if you ever watch this show, I need you to come on the show, man. I need you to come on What's Up PlayStation podcast, man. Like, we would love to have you on, man. Seriously.
We've been here for 22 years, and we're not going anywhere soon.
That's right.
Thank you all for being part of that.
Hey, let's go. Right? They started off with Marvel vs. Capcom. They started off with Marvel vs. Capcom. Ryu. Look how hyped the crowd is. Marvel vs. Capcom. Yo, I am not gonna lie, man. This trailer, everything about this was fire. Captain Marvel. Yo, this show was fire, right? Then they announced Crash Bandicoot. They announced the Crash Bandicoot remake. Guys. This was like 2016 was PlayStation's greatest year.
Family, foul play suspected.
Shitty house, spooky sounds. Ooh, is it haunted?
Resident Evil 7. Ace Combat.
Adios, you damn fool.
Last Guardian. This game, we've been waiting for The Last Guardian for years. And they finally gave us a release date and everything for this game. The Last Guardian. Knack 2. Knack 2. Oh, great. GT Sport. GT Sport.
No need of love.
Ni no Kuni 2, which one of the greatest games of this generation. Yo, if you have not played Ni no Kuni 2, fire. This show was just crazy.
My inventions were
Yakuza 6. Near Automata. Like, yo, this, mind you, this was a PlayStation experience. They showed their, they put it all out on the table.
Higher is your only hope.
They put it all out on the table.
For you, fellow believer.
What game was this?
I knew something bad was gonna happen. It's probably the greatest game ever made. Yeah! This game?
Lara Croft,
Lara Croft Go for PlayStation 4
the VR games.
and PlayStation Vita.
Neo.
Lethal.
Horizon.
It belongs to.
And then Naughty Dog's great. The Last of Us 2. Oh, that was Let It Die. Okay, I remember that game. That game was trash. That game was not that great to me. I didn't really enjoy it. They showed the teaser for Last of Us 2. And they ended the show. Listen to the crowd. Listen to the crowd. Firefly symbol. Listen to the crowd. Listen to the crowd. Listen to the crowd. They go, Ellie. I walk through the valley
with the shadow of death, and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. In my mind, my gun, they comfort me, because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell on this earth forevermore. Said I walk beside the still waters and they restore my soul, but I can't walk on the path of the right.
Yo, this trailer's so fire. I'm sorry. This trailer was fire.
No, I can't walk on the path of the right, 'cause I'm wrong.
What are you doing, kiddo?
You really gonna go through with this?
I'm gonna find. And I'm gonna kill. Every last one of them.
Fire. I got caught up. I'm getting goosebumps. Last of Us Part 2, man. Great. One of the greatest games come out this generation, hands down. Right? But then we have to talk about the controversy behind this game. So the good is obviously PlayStation Experience 2016. But then let's talk about the bad, especially when it comes to Last of Us Part 2. Because it just happened. When did it just happen? It just happened, what, 3 months ago? 4 months ago? 5 months ago, maybe? Not about 3 to 4 months. The controversy, and spoiler warning, this is spoiler warning. If you have not beat Last of Us Part 2, you might want to mute the video for about 5 or 10 minutes. Right? I'm about to talk about it. Okay. When Joel gets killed in the game, and people were just like, yo, like, they were mad at that. They were mad at the fact that Abby was able to kill Joel and Joel was dead, and it spiraled. Again, this goes back to, this was like Puddlegate times 20, right? This was like Ultra Instinct crying going on in the community, right? Because they were mad at the fact that, one, Joel was dead. They were mad at the fact that, two, Ellie was gay, even though Ellie was gay in the first game, right? Especially if you played Left Behind, right? They were mad at the fact that Abby was buff. They thought she was this transgender and all this other crazy stuff, right? They were mad at the fact that she was able to kill Joel, right? So all these different things that people were mad at, and they were, when I say mad, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know. Y'all be on social media. I ain't got to explain it to y'all. Y'all know. They were sending death threats to Naughty Dog, sending death threats to Neil Druckmann and to the whole Naughty Dog cast and stuff like that. That's definitely one of the most controversial moments of this generation. And it's sad because it's so sad because it literally just happened a few months ago. But it is one of the most controversial moments in this generation. And it's sad because it didn't have to be. A lot of people were, it was a culmination of two things. One, a lot of people that couldn't let Joel go. Because the problem is the game leaked. The game leaked. Right? And because the game leaked, there was a lot of people that, were pissed off, and Neil Druckmann and team kept saying, play through the whole game. Don't look at this scene and think that, this is just, we're doing this on purpose. Play through the entire game and allow yourself to understand why this happened, right? And when I played through the whole game, I got it, right? When you look at Last of Us Part 2, the world that Last of Us is, the world that Last of Us takes place in, it's like Game of Thrones. Everyone is expendable. Everyone. Daenerys was a main character throughout the entire show. She got killed in the end. Same thing with Cersei. Same thing with the Lannisters. A ton of different characters. The Starks. The Starks got killed off. Only ones that's left is Bran, I forgot their names, Lord. You get what I'm saying, okay? In these types of worlds, especially in the world that Last of Us 2 Part 2 takes in, Last of Us period takes in, everyone is expendable, right? In the first game, Trish was a main character as well. She died. That was a main character, and she died early. That's a main character. You get what I'm saying? In this type of world, everyone is expendable, and you also have to pay for your consequences. You understand? My man's killed the doctor. Yeah, they were going to kill Ellie He loved Ellie as a daughter. He wanted to get her, whatever. But this is what I'm saying. No one was allowing themselves to really understand that, right? It was just, Joel is dead. It's an agenda, SJW, or, the usual stuff that people like to cry, right, on social media, right? Because when they feel wronged by a game, right? So seeing that, right, that was definitely one of the biggest controversies of this generation. And it just happened 3 months ago. Ridiculous. Right? And I think this next one, this is a controversy. This next one, I think y'all are going to love. Because we're going into next generation where 60 frames per second where 60 frames per second is going to be the standard, or we hope, right? With a lot of the with majority of the games that we've seen go into next gen, this is definitely going to be the standard, right? But let's go back in time a little bit. I told y'all, man, this is gonna be a good show. Let's go back in time, and let's talk about when people thought 60 frames per second people didn't care about. Yo, listen, okay? And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Next generation, going into next gen, I really do want Xbox to be better. Honestly. Wholeheartedly. I do. I honestly do. But because this generation really was rough. It was rough. And I don't want y'all to think that I'm hearkening on Xbox. But these are the facts. This is the news. This generation, Phil Spencer has put his foot in his mouth a number of times. And we're going to highlight it. This is one of those times. Again, Xbox head Phil Spencer says most people don't care about 60 frames per second. This was in 2017. This was in 2017. And what's wild is I actually agree with Phil Spencer to a degree. Let me explain myself. I agree with Phil Spencer to a degree. Because when you look at the casual audience, matter of fact, no, let's do the comparison like this. For those that are on social media, right, or for those that watch a ton of different podcasts, Xbox podcasts, PlayStation podcasts, whatever. For a lot of you that watch a ton of different podcasts, you're on social media, you see the console war stuff, all that fanboy stuff, back and forth. You see the spec ops, right? And for those that are new here and don't know, well, Persona, what's a spec op? So a spec op, and if you see anybody, let me say this: if you see anybody else calling somebody a spec op, that's because they got it from me. Because nobody in this community was calling these spec tech guys spec ops but me. So if you see anybody else coining that term, they got it from me. Okay, anyway, a spec op is somebody that loves to talk about specs. RDNA 2, VHS or VRS, whatever the fuck it is, VRR, mesh shader, all this other stuff, right? They always talking about specs, but they don't play no games. They not playing no games. They don't platinum games. They don't play games. They just talk about the specs behind the games, the specs behind the consoles. Armchair developers, man. Spec ops. That's what I call them. Spec ops. Anyway, when you on social media in YouTube and things like that, you've got the spec ops that they, especially since this year. This year it's really been bad. It's really been bad this year, right? But the spec ops this year have been really like RDNA 2, this ray tracing, full path, half path, back path, right path, left path, like all this bullshit that really a lot of us don't care about at the degree that they do, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't care about specs at all, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that because I would be lying. I like to know about this stuff too, but I'm not looking at it, or I'm not holding this type of stuff to the degree and level that a lot of these other spec ops do, right? And one of the things that spec ops, especially this year, have been talking about is how 60 frames per second is the standard, how 60 frames per second is this, and how specs is this, and specs is that, and RDNA and all this other stuff, right? To the casual, right? And when I say a casual, you know, I don't mean necessarily a casual as in someone that's like a casual and a gamer, although it kind of falls within that realm too. It's a kind of gray area, right, when I'm speaking about the casual in this way, but I'll make it make sense. To a casual, they don't care about specs, right? When people go into, and I'll use this week coming up as an example. When people go into Walmart, Best Buy, or wherever, or let's say this was normal times, right? We weren't in the middle of a pandemic and all that stuff, and people can shop as they would, and there were ample stock to buy these next-gen consoles, right? When someone is going into a store to buy a console, they're not walking up to the salesperson and saying, hey, you know, does this do RDNA too? Hey, does this do full path ray tracing, back path ray tracing, left path, right path? They're not asking any of that stuff. A lot of people are going into the store and they're saying, hey, I want to buy a next-gen console. Well, what are you interested in? You know, I saw that new Spider-Man commercial on TV. Where's that at? Oh, yeah, that's a PlayStation 5, PS4, PS5 game. It looks better on PS5. Oh, how does it look better? Oh, well, on PS5, it's 4K 60. You have the capability of doing 4K 60. And, oh, you also have the capability of doing 4K 30 with ray tracing. Oh, well, what's ray tracing? Ray tracing is something that makes the reflections on things look better. That's as deep as it goes, right? If someone was really trying to understand what's better, that's as deep as it goes. They're not talking about, oh, well, this does RDNA 2, and this has 12 teraflops, and this has 10 teraflops, and this has VRR and VHS, and no one in the store is talking about that shit, right? They only care about, oh, well, it looks and plays better here. Why? Oh, because it does 4K 60, and it has ray tracing and all this other stuff. Oh, well, that sounds like a great deal, right? But what led them to that isn't the 60 frames per second. It's the game itself. It's the game. It's Spider. What brought the customer into the store is Spider-Man. Not 60 frames, RDNA 2, VH, none of that. It was the game. Once he got to the store, because he's already, in his mind, he wants to play Spider-Man. In his mind, he wants to play Demon Souls or whatever. The 60 frames and all that is an additive to what he already wants to experience. He wants to experience the game. So I get what Phil Spencer's. I agree with him a little bit. I agree with him where most people don't care about 60 frames because they don't. Look at this. Look at the sales of this generation. Look at the sales. Look at Nintendo sales this generation. Look at PlayStation game sales this generation. To a degree, Phil Spencer's right. I agree. To a degree, I agree. I agree. And I can tell you guys this. When I get my PlayStation 5 this week, when I get my PlayStation 5 this week, I'm playing Spider-Man at 4K 30 with the ray tracing. Not 4K 60. If Persona stop lying, those employees don't know anything and will tell you they just waited on the... Yo, low key they don't. But if you got an employee at a store that actually cares about his job and does research and he knows about gaming and stuff like that, he'll be able to sell you on the game, especially on a next gen console. You feel me? But for me, I'm playing the game at 4K 30 with the ray tracing. That's gonna be my first playthrough. My second playthrough, I'll play 4K 60. But I'm trying to experience that ray tracing goodness. You know, I'm trying to experience the goodness. You feel me? So yeah, the most people not caring about 60 frames. I kind of agree with Phil Spencer here. I do. I do. Oh man. See if these missing Kraken underwater. I'm trying. Okay, so the next one. Oh, this is probably one of the. Yo, I feel bad for Xbox this gen, man. All right. Anyway, so this next one, right? Sea of Thieves Kraken does not possess a body underwater. Listen. Okay. I couldn't believe this at first. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't believe this. I seriously could not believe it. But in Sea of Thieves, when you went up against the Kraken in the water, someone went in the water and the Kraken did not have a body. It was just tentacles sticking out of the water. Oh my God. I couldn't believe this, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe this. I was like, yo, wait a second. The Kraken, it's got a face, but no body. It's got no body. And I don't even, you know what's funny? I don't even know if they gave the thing a body now. Like, I don't know if Sea of Thieves, if you go up against the Kraken now, if he has a body. I don't know if he has a body or not. But at the time when Sea of Thieves first came out, 2018, right? The Kraken ain't had no body. Also, to add, when people ask where the body is, the developer said they working on DLC and bringing more to the game. Yo, listen. Yo, listen. This was crazy. This was crazy, man. I really couldn't believe that there was no body with the Kraken. And I don't know if they thought that people just wasn't going to jump in the water to see. Yo, I'm pretty sure gamers are real explorative, right? If a motherfucker want to see what's in the water, he going to jump in the water. Even if it means he dies, he's going to die. He's still going to jump in the water. And you had to have, this was an L. I'm sorry. This was an L. This was just an L. Hands down, this was an L. Spectac. Another controversial moment, and this one is real personal for me, right? This is really personal for me, man. Yo, listen. Bethesda and their spectacular bug bullshit. Yo, y'all remember when right before Fallout 76 was coming out and Bethesda put out this statement, right, talking about how the game is going to have these spectacular bugs, and we want you guys to know that we're trying to create a great game. Let's see if we can see it on Twitter. Oh yeah. Note to our fans, right? Note to our fans. The disrespect. As a development studio, we've taken a lot of journeys. We've tried not to repeat ourselves, yet all of our games have a similar DNA. In 2015, we decided to try something very new. I'm trying to look for the spectacular bugs section where they were talking about this bullshit, man. Let me see. Spectacular bugs. I honestly couldn't believe. You know what it is, man? I just couldn't believe that they actually they were letting you know, hey, look, this game's going to be buggy, but they're spectacular bugs. These are bugs that, we think you guys should be proud of, because it means that you can find them and you can let us know about them, and we're going to make sure that we provide a spectacular experience. So we need your help, right here. So this section right here, we all know with the scale of our games and the systems we let you use that unforeseen bugs and issues always come up. Given what we're doing with Fallout with 76, we know we're opening everyone up to all new spectacular issues none of us have encountered. Some we're aware of, such as areas where performance needs to improve with lots of players. Others we surely don't. We need your help finding them and advice on what's important to fix. We'll address all of it now and after launch. What? I'm sorry, what? Excuse me? Do I look like a developer to you? I'm being serious here. Do I look like a developer to you? That is the purpose of QA testers, game testers, and all this stuff. And you put your games into these testing environments and stuff to see what the issues are and things of that nature. That's why you put out betas to see where issues are here and there or whatever, things like that. But you putting out the full game and you talking about spectacular issues that we know of and still ain't fixed. And new issues that we don't. Stop it, man. Stop it. Stop it. What are we talking about here? Spectacular bugs. What? Spectacular issues. What? Performance that needs to be improved with lots of players. So fix it. Fix it before the game comes out or delay the game. But don't send me a letter talking about you need me to tell you what's important to fix. I'm not a developer. This is my game. This is your game. This is your project. This is your legacy. You fix it. Not me. You. Ridiculous. 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 This was definitely like one of those, for me, this is like personal for me, man. Like one of those controversial moments for me personally where I'm just like, yo, what are you talking about right now, man? Like, yo, real talk, what are you talking about right now? Right? Crossfire. Oh man, here we go. We getting into the PlayStation controversy now. These the juicy. One of the in this one, I want all of you, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to understand something, right? This one right here, this controversy, quote unquote, this one really it irked me. Because it shouldn't have been a controversy, right? Or it shouldn't have been something that was blown out of proportion, but it was. And y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about crossplay. Let's go down memory lane here with this one. This was just 2018. Let's go down memory lane here, man. Why does Sony allow crossplay on PlayStation 4? Let's understand something here, right? I want all of you to understand something. PlayStation has been doing crossplay since PlayStation 2. PlayStation 3 had more cross-playable games than Xbox 360. When PlayStation wanted to do crossplay with Xbox, Xbox said no. This was during PS3. In PlayStation 4's generation, PlayStation still has more cross-playable games than the competition. The issue here and how this all started, from my understanding, how this all started was Greg Miller, shout out to Greg, he couldn't play his Fortnite, I think, on his Switch or on his phone or something like that, because he normally plays it on PlayStation, but he was out and about and he wanted to play, but he couldn't gain access to his stuff because there was no cross progression and cross play and all this other shit. So it spiraled into this where people were getting on, because, you know, Fortnite's the most popular game, right? So people were getting on PlayStation for not enabling allowing the ability to do cross progression with Fortnite. Then it spiraled into, oh, well, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo should be able to play with each other on Fortnite and all these other games, right? Right? And then it spiraled to everyone pointing at PlayStation as being the bad guy because they wouldn't allow crossplay with Xbox and Nintendo. Right? Then it spirals into Nintendo and Xbox teaming up, saying, play together. We're in this together. All this other bullshit, right? We're in this together. All this other bullshit. And then using that to kind of make PlayStation look bad for not wanting to join them to do crossplay. Now I have to ask you something, because now, you know, in 2020, crossplay between other consoles and whatnot has become much more, it's a bit more normalized now. Like you see, like Call of Duty now does crossplay between Xbox and PlayStation and PC and all this other stuff, right? And obviously, crossplay between PlayStation and PC and all this it's always been a thing, right? I have to ask this question to you guys. Now that crossplay has become a bit more normalized, do you use it? Is it important? Is it still as important, right? Because, you know, one thing about this community that I've noticed, especially this generation particularly, right? One of the few things that I've noticed is that things aren't a problem until they're a problem. What do I mean by that? Things are not a problem until someone raises awareness about why this should be a problem, even though you didn't find this as being a problem prior to it being a problem, right? Because crossplay is something that has just been, it's just existed, right? It's just been there. Right? It never was something that, oh, you know, if a game doesn't have crossplay, then I can't buy it type of it. It never was that type of thing, at least for me. Like for me personally, you know, if the game had it, fine. If it didn't, I don't care. It's not affecting my gaming experience. It's not. But the issue with this, right? And this is why I say going into next generation, I really don't want like us as a community, us as gamers, really have to like start picking the battles here, because, you know, I seen people saying, oh, well, you know, some of my friends play on Xbox and I play on PlayStation and it sucks that we can't play together. So what? My best friend works in Brooklyn and I work in Manhattan. It's at two different jobs. It sucks that we don't work together. So we still making money. So what? That's how the world works. Jay-Z and Beyonce live in $1 million mansion somewhere in Cali, and I live in New York in an apartment. So that's how life is. You get what I'm saying? And it's just like, yo, people want, like, it's funny. It's funny how people try to say that they put these things out there as things that they want to be changed because they think it'll be better for gaming. But in reality, it's their own selfish wants and gains for these changes, right? No one listen, this entire generation, no one cared about crossplay, right? A popular influencer had a gripe about something, and then it spiraled into this, right? Sheep. We have to, in this community, a lot of you have to stop letting these influencers influence you. Think for yourselves. Going into next generation, I really want this community to start thinking for themselves. Do you really, really care about crossplay? Does crossplay really enhance the gaming experience for you? Does it really, really do that? So you're telling me all these years that you've been gaming, because there was no crossplay, you couldn't enjoy a game, right? All these years that you've had friends playing on other consoles, you couldn't buy that console as well? That's what you're telling me? All these people that love to brag about being multi-console owners don't want to buy a game on multiple consoles. How does that work? How does that sound? I don't get it. You're a multi-console owner, but you're crying about not being able to play a game cross-play with somebody. What's going on here? But I digress, right? This was definitely a very controversial moment. That I'm just like, yo, it was crazy. Another controversial moment. I think this is a good moment for Microsoft. Yeah, I'll give him a good moment. This is a good moment. This is a good moment. This is definitely a good moment. Let's see. Or was it? Was it a good moment or crazy moment? I don't know, surprising moment. Microsoft acquires Bethesda. This was I don't know if this was controversial or a great, you know what? No, this was a good moment for Microsoft. This was good. You know, they acquired Bethesda. I don't really feel anything about it, like in terms of like, I feel like games are gonna be lost from me, right? But I don't really feel too crazy. I think Microsoft acquiring Bethesda it's good, and it's good, and it's controversial because it's like now, you know, those games are going to be exclusive to Xbox and PC, and they may potentially, you know, not be on PlayStation and Nintendo anymore in terms of some of these games, right? So it's a bit of a controversial moment in that realm, but when you look at it as a whole, Microsoft buying Bethesda, that's a good thing. You know, they're getting more studios under their belt, more exclusive games to give to their consumers and stuff like that. That's good. I think that's a good thing in my opinion, honestly, because Xbox was struggling this generation when it came to games. The same way we know now, care about couch co-op and overtime as developers are feeding our kids food on the table. You don't talk about No Man's Sky. You didn't talk about No Man's Sky. I mean, No Man's Life. You reminded me on that one, Seto. We definitely gonna talk about that one. No Man's Life. But yeah, Microsoft acquiring Bethesda, that's a good thing. I give them the W on that one. Yeah, that's a great thing, you know. Microsoft acquiring Mojang didn't lead to exclusive games though. Yeah, Das, you are right about that, but I don't know. I feel like with Bethesda, Microsoft might treat that a little bit different, right? And they might actually hold some games back. I do think they will to a degree, honestly. I'm trying to think. I know there was like No Man's Sky as well. Like No Man's Sky was definitely controversial because No Man's Sky, they like, you know, as great as happy as I am that the game is starting to really be fully realized as a great game, and you know, they've made a lot of great changes to it. You know, in the beginning, what people thought they were gonna get and what we got were definitely very disappointing. That's what I'll say. It was very disappointing. It was definitely something that Hello Games and Sean Murray and whatnot, they had to stand by that. They had to stand by that L. You get what I mean? But one thing I can really give props to the Hello Games team about is the fact that they stuck by the game and really like try to build a better game and learn from their mistakes and things like that. Like, yo, I have to give them props on that. You feel me? That's big boy shit, you know. So it's an L in regard of the initial launch, but I give them a W in terms of like now, in the here and now, right? Another good one too is PlayStation acquiring Insomniac Games, right, for like 250 mil. Listen, that was like after Spider-Man, you had to pick them up. You had to. Like, cause Insomniac has been out here doing the Lord's work when it comes to these games, right? And ever since PlayStation has bought Insomniac has been working. They have been working, yo. Like, they have been putting out some seriously great games. We got Miles Morales about to drop this week. We got Ratchet and Clank on the horizon. And I believe in my heart of hearts that we might get a Resistance remake or Resistance remastered trilogy, or we might get a brand new Resistance game. I just feel like a Resistance game is in the works. Some type of Resistance game is in the works. And I need Resistance. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I need Resistance. I need them to I need them to give me that game back. Resistance Fall of Man is one of my favorite games from PlayStation 3 generation. That was one of the first online games that I actually played on the PlayStation 3. And man, was that game good, man. Me and like some of my old crew from way back in the day playing on PS3, we used to do shotgun at the bus yard lobbies, and it was just so great. So yeah, I need Resistance. I need Resistance back, like bad. I do. Yo, real talk. Let's talk about a Nintendo controversy, man. Even though Nintendo is still like kind of within this, like, you know, they still kind of within this. Well, they are within this gen actually. So yeah. Let's talk about a Nintendo controversy real quick. Nintendo controversy is the fact that the same games that people refused to buy on the Wii U, Nintendo re-released on the Switch at full price at $60, and people bought them. Listen, guys and girls, I don't want to hear none of y'all complaining about remakes. I don't want to hear none of y'all complaining about price increases on games. You know, price increases to $70. I don't want to hear none of that, right? Because the fact that you people are out here buying Nintendo games, ports from the Wii U at full price. Y'all here buying Mario All-Stars for $60, right? Nintendo making that a limited release up until March. What's up with that, right? All this stuff that Nintendo's doing, but then they look at Xbox and PlayStation. Well, really just PlayStation, because Xbox putting everything in Game Pass. So they're looking at PlayStation like, oh, $70 for games. They're looking at third-party developers like $70 for games? 70? Ugh. I don't want to pay that. Oh, wait, let me go buy that new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for $60. Wait, Mario Kart's been out already and it's still $60? Why haven't I seen a sale on this? Oh, wait, Zelda Breath of the Wild came out in 2017 and this is still $60? I don't want to hear it, man. I really don't want to hear it. Because y'all not really standing by y'all convictions, man. You know, you're looking at prices of PlayStation games and saying, oh, this is $70. That's too expensive. But I turn around and buy Mario All-Stars for $60. And they don't even attempt to make any upgrades or graphical changes to the games. It's emulation. Zelda Breath of the Wild, still $60. Mario Kart 8, $60. Oh, and don't get me started on when Nintendo started doing DLCs and paid online, right? Everybody, oh, you know, it's just $20. I don't mind paying $20. But with Xbox and PlayStation, it's the end of the world. And it's not. It's funny too because it's not PlayStation people. It's it's PC guys. Is why it's so funny. It's the PC guys that got PCs but also got Switches and they pay for the online. And it's like, what? Oh, but it's just $20. I don't mind. It's just $20. It don't matter if it's $5. The point is, it's coming out of your pocket. That's $5 less. You don't have an issue with that? So Nintendo has definitely been the center, at least in my opinion. Nintendo has been at the center of some crazy controversies this generation, right? Selling limited releases of games. Who does that? Who does that? Could you imagine if Xbox or PlayStation did something like that? Could you imagine? It wouldn't be happening. They wouldn't be down for that. They would not be down for that. The cloud saves with Nintendo. Finally. Finally. Let's see, what's another controversial? Oh, I know one. This one is this is controversial. Very controversial. Mixer being shut down. Very controversial this gen. And, you know, Ninja and Shroud haven't getting these millions and millions of dollar payouts that Microsoft had to pay them because they didn't want to stay within their contract. So Microsoft had to pay them out of their contract because that was within the contract. So, you know, I think Ninja got like 30 million or something like that. Shroud got like 15, 20 million or something like that. Listen, and then Mixer shutting down after they had asked Shroud and Ninja they contracted them to stream exclusively to Mixer. It didn't help Mixer at all. Mixer was still failing. Mixer failed. What an L. What an L. I'd be like Alex, pirate the entire library. Yo, Seto, you funny, man. Zelda definitely had that trash weapon system. But Doc Trey was busy doing the Wii U dance on his channel. Yo, Seto, man. You funny, man. At Game of Persona, if Destruction All Stars was on Nintendo Switch, people would have bought it for $70. That's a fact, though. But because it's on PlayStation, it's not worth $70. That's how it goes. If PlayStation does some outside the box thinking like that, everyone is viewing it as, oh yeah, this is not something that PlayStation should be doing. It should be free. Everybody wants shit for free. No one wants to pay. That's the route we going. Everyone wants shit for free. But yeah, man, I think those are some good controversial and great moments of this generation. I can name plenty more, but we'd be here all day. And, it's Sunday, and I want to get my chores and whatnot out the way and get prepared for the week. Guys and girls, listen, we are 4 days away from the PlayStation 5, right? I can't wait for this console. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I cannot wait for this console. I'm really, really excited to play this console. I can't wait. Like, that's all to it. I can't wait, right? Videos, screenshots, all that stuff is definitely going to be there. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, @PersonaSpeaks, definitely follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. Let me show y'all. Make sure. Go follow me on Twitter, man. Y'all go follow me on Twitter. If you love me, you'll follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Persona Speaks. I'm almost to 1,000. Man. Go and follow your boy, man. I post some good stuff. I post some good stuff, man. You feel me? So definitely follow your boy on Twitter. And what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, and when it comes to next generation, I hope the community changes. I hope the community changes to a degree, man, because the route that we're going with certain things, with the outrage and all of this, it's getting out of hand. As you can see from this generation, it was crazy. It was crazy this gen, right? A lot of controversy, a lot of great moments, and again, there's a lot more great moments and things like that on all sides too. Like not just on PlayStation. There's definitely been some more great moments on Xbox as well. Great moments on the Switch and all that stuff. It's not just PlayStation. right? Just PlayStation just has the greatest moments. There's a difference. And then obviously controversial moments. Once again, we all, there's all types of controversial moments on all sides. You feel me? But when it comes to next generation, listen, guys, as much as the console war may be fun, as much as debating is fun, gaming is the greatest, and gaming is why we're here, right? And I can't wait to play all of these games next gen. Next gen is upon us. We are 4 days away. And one thing, and again, guys, the reason why I wanted to do this controversial episode of A Generation in Review is because I wanted to highlight some of the foolishness, but also highlight some of the narratives that have changed through the course of this generation, right? Because at the beginning of this generation, between Xbox and PlayStation, it was all about exclusives, and it was all about providing good games and next-gen experiences. And when I say next-gen experiences, I'm speaking PS4 and Xbox One, right? Then we move deeper into the generation, and, the two companies start shifting apart from the vision, right? And, PlayStation's going in this direction where they're putting high quality exclusive games onto their console, and Xbox is going a more service route, right? Has it worked out for both? You look and see who's really in a successful position right now when it comes to game sales and things of that nature. I'll let you guys decide. The facts are there, right? This is not just my opinion. These are the facts. Look at the facts. You understand? One last controversy, by the way, too, now I'm thinking about it. This happened at the very beginning of the generation when Xbox said that you cannot play the Xbox without the Kinect. And then a couple months later, they released an Xbox without a Kinect and did a price drop. Y'all remember that? That happened really, really early in the gen. That was like 2014. It was 2014. They released the Xbox without the Kinect after they said you cannot play the Xbox without the Kinect. And it was at like I think it was $350 that they had the sale going for. And I'm like, what? So all those people that bought the console right away with the Kinect, they got egg on their face now. You lied. That's no good. That is no good. But yeah, guys, we're gonna get up out of here. I hope you all enjoyed part 2 of A Generation in Review. Really good show. I enjoyed doing this one. So part 3, I got good news for you guys too. So part 3 of the show, if you've been following me, so I'll say it like this. If you've been following me for years, you guys definitely know who the Council is. You guys know about the Council podcast and things of that nature, right? So the part 3 is going to take place on Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern, right? And part 3 is going to be a Council reunion show. Generation in Review is going to be a Council reunion show. And in this episode, I really wanted this to be the last episode before the new consoles came out, because with me and with the Council, we all met within this generation, the PS4 and Xbox One generation. We all met. And so I thought, what better way to end the series than with the Council, where it all began. Right? So it's going to be Bari, it's going to be Ken, it's going to be Michi, it's going to be Timbo, it's going to be Stealth, it's going to be Adrian, it's going to be Jaleesa, Crunk Girl, right? Hopefully Trillwave, my boy Vic, hopefully he can be there as well. And it's going to be Bari, right? Bari's going to be there. It's going to be all of us there, right? Y'all don't want to miss that show. That's happening Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. And that show is really just going to be, it's going to be a reminiscing show, right? We're going to talk about, crazy times back in the day, the crazy fights we've had, most of them because of me, which they will be vocal about letting you know, most of them because of me. And the debates and how we met and PlayStation experience and just, a ton of different stuff, right? I definitely wanted that to be the last episode of this series because, I really think that would be a good show. You know, that would be a good way to end the generation, right? So that show is happening Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Don't miss it. It's gonna be a great show. I promise. You don't want to miss that, right? To everybody here, I appreciate all of you coming through. I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Also, my boy Bari. Hold up. Let me go to my boy Bari real quick. I know my boy Bari is streaming later. Let me see. Yeah, I seen him. Yeah, my boy Bari, he got a PlayStation. The PlayStation is great, but needs some fixes. And Xbox fanboys are upset at Xbox Part 2. Oh, this is going to be a great show. I kind of hope we open up the chat on this one. This one's going to be good. But, yeah, this is going to be a great show. So definitely check this out. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. Right. If you haven't already, go make sure y'all check that out, man. He's going to start this stream at 2 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock Eastern, that stream is going to go for Bari. Check that out. Definitely check that out. That's going to be a really, really great show. So definitely check out my boy Bari. And like I said, guys, I really appreciate y'all coming through. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. And listen, man, I'll see you guys Tuesday. You guys be safe. Have a great week. It is PlayStation Week. Follow me on Twitter, @Persona Speaks. And, yeah, man, I see y'all later, man. Y'all be safe. Have fun. And I appreciate